We just received a new epic equipment in Clash of Clans, the Lavaloon puppet, and we are here today to talk about it, so stay tuned. There are a few things to the Lavaloon puppet that we need to talk about. The first is the passive abilities that come with the equipment when you're using it. You get a 50 DPS increase, which is the worst DPS increase out of any of the Warden equipment that offer a DPS increase, and a 150 total hit point increase, which is also the worst hit point increase by any Warden equipment that offers a hit point increase. But that's just the passive stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about the active ability. When you have this maxed, you spawn 2 Lavaloons that are level 11, but that's a little bit misleading. If you take a look at the Lavaloons that spawn from the Warden ability, they have 4,590 health, they do 1,035 damage when destroyed, they do 202 damage per second, and when they die, they spawn 5 units. Now, if you compare that to the Lavaloon that's in the game, the Lavaloon that you get in the game has 5,100 hit points, does 1,150 damage when destroyed, it does 225 damage per second, and it has 7 spawned units when it dies. So the Lavaloons that you get from the Warden ability are not as good as the Lavaloon that's in the game. I don't know why Supercell chose to do it that way, but they did. I have done a whole bunch of different attacks with this. I'm going to show you a few examples of the cases that I can get them to work. So let's go ahead and dive into that, and I will kind of compare the Lavaloon equipment versus the other equipment with the Warden. Now here's a replay of an attack that I did. It is a dragon spam attack where I used the Lavaloon ability, and look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think that this Lavaloon puppet ability, this equipment is pretty garbage. I don't think it's very good at all, and I will show you this replay here. I pop my Warden ability, right? I use the Eternal Tome because I want everything to be invincible, and you'll see these 2 Lavaloons, they probably do some damage as they're flying across the map, right? They are getting raged up right here, and then they soak up some traps. So they do, it's not totally worthless, right? But then they just die and they don't really do much after that. If you watch the replay and kind of analyze it piece by piece, I think you would get much more value by having any of the other Warden equipment, whether it's the Life Gem, the Rage Gem, or the Healing Tome. I think all 3 of those would be better in almost every situation than the Lavaloon puppet. I have tried different tricks. I've tried different attacks. I've tried Lalos, where you can save army space maybe from not having to use a Lava Hound in the army. But again, I just think the other Warden equipment offers more benefit to your army in general than the Lavaloon puppet. Now, this is all speculation here. And you can even see I still overkill this base even with using the Lavaloon puppet. That's just because the dragons are so good. It's not because of the equipment, trust me. Let's talk about maybe why Supercell released the equipment this way, because I think there are some things that we need to think about when we're talking about this epic equipment that was just released. Now, I know you guys are seeing a lot of the dragon spam armies in this video. Now, I'll be 100% honest with you. This is really the only army that I've been able to use the Lavaloon puppet with and been able to triple somewhat consistently. In Lalos, it's very hard to get it to work well. In really any other type of air attack, I struggle. With a ground attack, I struggle. I haven't been able to find a very good way to make this equipment really useful at all. You can see here, right, these Lavaloons, they might soak up some traps, they might kill a building, but there's no way that this is more valuable to this army than a Healing Tome or a Rage Gem or a Life Gem or something else. Like, they just don't really do a whole lot. And I've watched these replays pretty closely after I finish, and I just, in the little bit of DPS and health boost that you get from the Warden passively from this, as of right now, I feel like they're going to have to buff it eventually in the future to make it usable at all at Town Hall 16, or maybe even change the way it works. I don't really know exactly how they do that, but hopefully they'll come up with something soon, because as of right now, I think a lot of players are just deterred from getting the equipment at all. Or they're just buying it and they're just going to put it to the side and say, we'll worry about it when I don't need to level up anything else that's important. So what I think is going to happen is probably it will just kind of be unusable at Town Hall 16 for a little bit. Worlds will happen. Town Hall 17 will come out. They'll either buff it at that point, or some other equipment or troop or something will come out at that point that will synergize with this at that point and make it better, whether it's directly or indirectly. Now, I have not found a single case, and I want to stress this, where this equipment is just flat out better than any of the other Warden equipment. And because of that, I would focus on spending your ores on other Epic equipment at the moment and putting this to the side for now. Unless you want to take the risk that you think they're going to buff it later on, then you can do it then. Now, I do want to leave with a couple of ideas that I think might make this ability a lot more usable. As of right now, since they've given us a dumbed down version of the Lavaloon and it's not as good as the real troop in the game, maybe what they could do is lower the housing space from the Lavaloons that pop out of the Warden from 23 housing space to 21. This would allow us to clone 2 of them with each clone spell instead of just 1. That might make it a little bit more usable. I still don't know that it would be great. Or if they could implement it in some sort of way, like almost like the Barbarian puppet or the Archer puppet, where maybe they spawned like 4 or something, but it was like 1 every like 5 seconds or something, and it was delayed. Or you could spawn like 3 and have them spawn once with a bunch of like little pups around the Warden or something, and then a few seconds later another one pops with a bunch of pups around the Warden or something. Like, we've got to come up with a different way to... The equipment just needs a buff or a change in general. As of right now, it is just very hard to use. And I really can't find a good way to use it where it's just better than any of the other equipment. So for now, it's going to be a meme equipment where people are going to use it to just have fun, but it's just not better than any of the other equipment that the Warden has. So I will do it. That will do it for this video. I will see you guys next time, and enjoy the equipment.